What if your follow up emails sent themselves the moment someone filled out your form, bought your product, or got added to a list without you touching a thing? Well, that's what automations does in Creative Builder. Let's get started. So, the very first thing we're going to do is go down to marketing and to automations. Now, automations are tied directly to, if you look in marketing, to your email campaigns. So before you create an automation, you need to make sure you create an email campaign that's going to be tied to that automation. So for this example here, let me delete these two out and we'll start from scratch. We're going to do a course welcome and onboarding. Let me change the modes here so it's easier, a little bit easier to read. Um, Course welcome and onboarding sequence. So let's go ahead and generate the sequence. Okay, that took about 2 minutes for it to generate a 6 email sequence for new course students, new enrollments. And if you have any questions about how the email uh, or how the email campaign builder works, you can watch that video. But let's go ahead and move on to our automation. So we got our course and welcome onboarding. So we'll just click back to campaigns and refresh. You know what? I forgot to save it. Let me do that one more time. Okay, so I recreated the email sequence, and right here it is. So now let's go ahead and go into our automations. So we can create an automation based off that email sequence. So we'll go to create automations and select templates. And right here, course welcome and onboarding. So we'll just use this template right here, but there's several templates in here. Webinar replay, post webinar launch sequence, which is a 9 email launch sequence. Lead nurturing, webinar follow up, opt in follow up. And of course, you can build from scratch as well. So we'll do both actually. So let's go ahead and use the template. And boom, here is the template that it picked. And the only thing you got to do, as you can see here, we'll select the course that's going to be that is purchased. This is going to be tied to this campaign. So we'll pick Brain Brew Community because I only have this one course in here. So, and whenever somebody purchases the course, it'll wait 1 minute. This is called a delay, and then it'll send out the first email in that campaign sequence that we just created. So when you go to delay, you can change the duration. So usually the way I do it is the very first email goes out immediately. So we just put a 1 minute delay. And then we'll go down here to send email, and we'll pick that email campaign, which is course welcome and onboarding, and select the very first email. So that means this is the very first email it sends out a minute later. And you would do this when you're building out your campaign. So we select email 2. Now, the AI, when it generates a funnel or a website, it creates all this automatically. So it creates the form, it creates the email sequence, it creates the automation, it does all of that with the click of the button. But this is for whenever you're wanting to create your own. So now you see the next delay is set for 1 day later. So they'll get this second email the day later. And that's how it works, so on and so forth. All right, so we'll just save that one. And we can mark it as active whenever you're ready to make it active by going up here. You can also undo and redo if you want to remove a node. And also, just real quick, if you wanted to move a node up or down in the process, you can do that just by clicking here, and you can duplicate nodes. So those are the nodes. You have your workflow, which is this canvas here. And then you have your contact automation, which is when contacts come into the workflow. They'll be presented right here. This is your analytics page that tells you exactly what the contact's doing, the email performance, how many runs the automation has had, and the run history. As you can see here, no automations ran yet. And then the engagement by the user. So the contact will be here, and it'll tell what activity, for example, did they receive email one, did they open email one, etc. So very intuitive. And that is how when you're using a template works. And if you were going to create one from scratch, you would need to make sure that you have your email campaign in the email sequence already set up, and you would just name it, uh, you know, give it the automation name. You can put a description in here if you'd like, and create automation. And now, since we're creating it from scratch, we got to select an event trigger. And your 3 event triggers are forms, courses, or products. So we'll use a form. And now we go here, select a form. And when you click on it, you just click change details. And you will select a form that's already created. So if you need to use this automation for form, you need to make sure that you have a form created, and you can create a standard form or a conversational style form. So I'm just going to use one right here that's already in here for contact calls. And then we'll add a step. We'll tag. So we can add a tag whenever somebody enters in. So you'll put it as a lead, and then we'll click change details, and we can add a tag here. So I'm just going to name it, what could we call it? Because I have a calendar automation as well. So we'll just call this one, shoot, I ran out of words. Creative enrollment, because I can't think of anything off the top of my head for some reason. So we'll call it creative enrollment. Now, whenever somebody enters your form, they get tagged with creative enrollment. And the thing is, when they get tagged in your CRM, you can actually segment your list, because we don't actually, in our CRM, we don't create lists. Everything's segmented by tags. So that way it's easier, because if they have, some users will have several tags. So it makes more sense to do it by tags than it does by list. Sorry. So with that said, so it took me so long to create a tag. The next step, we can create an action step and send an email. So this is where you would, once again, just like the other, the automation, you would select an email campaign, and then you would select the email from that series. Now, let me take a step back. There's something else you can do. You can also create what's called a split path, and this will A/B test which emails and which campaigns work the best. So, for example, if you wanted to test 2 different types of campaigns, you would use a split path and add the action, and you would add a tag to it and all that. And then you would do the same thing for B. So that is really, really powerful. That way you can measure and see what campaigns are outperforming which ones. So let's go ahead and undo these. And once again, you can, since we already added a tag, we can add a delay. And then we'd add, whatever our delay would be, I'm going to change it to 1 minute for the first email. Then we would add action step and choose an email. And then you can add a condition if you'd like. If it has a tag, then move to this campaign. If they don't have a tag, then move to this campaign. And what that allows you to do is, for example, you did a webinar and somebody bought your course, then they would go into a certain email series. And if they didn't buy, they would go into this email series. And what that allows you to do is, instead of creating 2 different automations, you just create one with a condition. So once again, very cool little feature. So let's remove this and we can move this around. Another thing you can do, you can jump to a step. So select the step to jump to, and this is, for example, if you've built out a certain series and they, for example, they matched a tag. Instead of going through the rest of the series, you can have them jump to a specific part of the series. So once again, so if a user is in your funnel, because this is essentially what the funnel is, um, and they meet a certain criteria, they don't need to go through the rest of the email series. You can jump them to another step. Very, very cool little tool. All right, and we've got set goal, which would be purchase complete. On this one, we can change the details, and you can, if the goal type will be conversion, engagement, revenue, or you can put a custom one in here for whatever you want to be measured. So let's delete that one. And I think we've covered all of these. Set goal, jump to step, split path, add condition, add delay, add tag. And obviously the exit automation just means that the automation is over. And then when you're done, you would just click active. You would activate it, and this automation would be active. And the workflow is the exact same for as far as your sidebar controls, just like in the previous example where I showed you how to use the template. And that is the automation in a nutshell. It's extremely powerful but simple to use, which is what we're aiming for here, right? So with all that said, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.